everyone, I'm Alli and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing a video that is sort of by request for my day 4 installment of HalloWeek, and that is a neutral Halloween decor. Now yesterday I did black and white, which is super trendy right now, but the other trend right now is just neutral, like keeping to just natural color tones. So I thought, why not try my hand at it? Now this video I actually asked you guys in my community tab and over on my Instagram what you wanted to see for one of my HalloWeek videos. Now the one that won was making different Halloween decor for home decor trends or home decor styles, but I decided that that kind of would be super involved and I felt weird just making one DIY per decor style because that's not really helpful. And today I decided to do the second place winner, which was a neutral Halloween decor. So let's start with DIY number 1. I'm starting with a plastic skull. Mine is from Dollar Tree. I then heated my utility knife with a candle and cut off the top of the skull. Now make sure if you do this, do it in a well-ventilated area because you are melting plastic. And of course, be careful with the blade and candle. After that, I gave the entire skull a good sand to rough up the plastic for the paint and smooth the cut edges. Next, I'm using a paint sample in Navajo White and mixing it up with baking soda. I just loved that baking soda technique in my Halloween thrift flip video, so I wanted to use it again. And all I did was paint it onto the skull using a foam brush, making sure to completely cover it. I let the first coat of paint completely dry and then added a second coat and let that dry. While the skull is drying, I'm going to make the macrame plant hanger using 8 pieces of macrame cord and 8 pieces of chunky textured yarn. First, I folded all of the pieces of string in half, then took a small piece of macrame cord and tied it in a gathering knot at the top. I'll be sure to link to a tutorial that better explains how to make this knot. I wanted to keep this macrame super simple, so first I separated all of the strands into 4 groups of 2 macrame pieces and 2 yarn pieces. And as I've done like a dozen times on this channel already, I'm going to make square knots. And again, I'll link to a video that better explains how to make this knot. Keeping the yarn pieces in the center, I used the macrame cord to make the square knots. I made a total of 6 square knots a couple of inches from the top of the plant hanger, and then repeated that with the remaining 3 groups of strands. And then several inches down, I made 2 more square knots on each strand. After that, it's time to join the groups together, so I separated 2 groups so that I had 2 yarn pieces on the outside and 2 macrame pieces on the inside, then made 2 more square knots using the yarn to join the strands together. I repeated this all the way around the plant hanger until the pieces joined together in a circle. Finally, I joined all of the pieces together at the end using another gathering knot. I trimmed off all of the excess strings on the ends and frayed the macrame cord pieces. Next up, I'm making a really cute and simple Halloween banner or bunting. I'm using this very simple bunting shape that I made and will make available on my blog, actuallyalli.com. I cut out 3 pieces of canvas fabric that I had in my stash, and I left the edges of the fabric raw because I really liked the rustic look that created. After I cut out the buntings, I used black acrylic paint that I mixed a little bit of white into to paint Boo on the pieces. I drew each of the letters with a pencil first just to make sure everything looked right. I then used a 1/4 inch flat angled brush to paint on the letters, and I did leave the fabric showing through in spots because again, I wanted this to look a little rustic and a little handmade. While the banner was drying, I wanted to make 2 little ghosts to act as tassels at the ends of my banner. All I did was take some scrap white fabric and cut out 2 squares, balled up a little bit more of the scrap white fabric, and then wrapped the square around it and secured it with a piece of jute twine. Basically, I'm making these like you would have when you were a kid and would cover a lollipop with a tissue to make ghosts. And I also used the end of my paintbrush to make 2 eyes and a mouth. Once all that paint is dry, it's time to assemble. First, I tied a knot on one end and added a small wood bead, then tied another knot to hold the bead in place. Next, I added the first bunting, and somehow I lost this clip, but I snipped 2 tiny holes in the corner of each bunting so that I could string the jute twine through. I then added another knot, another bead, another knot, and then another bunting, and just repeated that until all the buntings and beads were on the banner. And a little tip is just to put a piece of tape on the end of the jute twine so that it doesn't fray. Finally, I attached the ghosts just by putting a little hot glue on the jute twine and then sticking it onto the top of their heads, and that completes this little Halloween bunting. First, you're going to need 3 different sized pumpkins. I'm going to start with the middle one because it's more involved, and it's just a basic Dollar Tree foam pumpkin. First, I'm going to cover the pumpkin with Dollar Tree lightweight spackling. I found the easiest way to do this was by first rubbing the spackling onto the foam pumpkin to create a thin layer and letting that dry completely. Then I could easily build on top of that layer with more spackling each time. I made sure to let the spackle dry completely between each layer, and it took 3 layers for the pumpkin to have the texture that I wanted. To complete this pumpkin, I just painted it with what I had left over of the baking soda paint mixture I used on the skull at the beginning of the video. For the smallest pumpkin, I just gave it 3 coats of regular white acrylic paint. I did most of this painting off cam just because it's pretty self-explanatory. And for the largest pumpkin, I first gave it a base coat of white chalk paint and let that completely dry. Then I gave it a second coat of chalk paint, this time going in with a lot more paint to add texture. I also used a dry bristle brush to add a little bit extra texture to the paint. Once the chalk paint dried, I mixed up a terracotta color and painted 1 thick coat on top of the pumpkin. And finally, once the pumpkins were complete, I just used some hot glue to attach them all together to create a really cute stack of pumpkins, then reattach the stem to the top of the smallest pumpkin. And that is everything for this video. I hope you got inspired by a couple of these neutral Halloween DIYs. I also tried to style them in a bit of a vignette so you can see just how really cute these work together. And I think this turned out really great. I think a neutral palette for Halloween could be really cute and maybe something I need to explore because As you'll see in my video tomorrow, I go a bit extreme on the Halloween decor in all the bright black and orange colors. Tomorrow I'll be posting my final video of HalloWeek, which is my DIY and decorate with me, and I'm just so excited to wrap up the week with one of my favorite videos to film and edit. So if you don't want to miss the last installment, again, don't forget to hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and if you want to check out my past HalloWeek videos, they are linked down in the description box. And my question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on the neutral holiday decor trend? I feel like this is a very polarizing one. I have seen people who are very much on the side of neutral decor, but then I see a lot of people who are very much against it and tired of seeing all of the neutral decor. So I would love to know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I will see you tomorrow for the grand finale of HalloWeek. Bye!